Hello, I'm Erin of the Fox's Den. Today I am showing you guys how I redid this piece to give it a Mediterranean style inspired look. So first thing I did was add this medallion. This is from iFlex. I always like to do wood glue and then just a couple drops of hot glue. That hot glue is going to hold it in place while that wood glue sets up. I had broken it, so that's why it's in two pieces. Next thing I did for this piece is I did cover it with a texture medium. This is Crust from Paint Couture. It's a pre-mixed texture medium. If you watched my last video, it's kind of the same technique. I apply it with a scraper, and then I like to pounce with another brush, just to give it some extra peaks. Once that's dry, I am doing a coat over the whole piece. This is the color Grounded from Paint Couture. I'm just going to go over top the whole thing, making sure to get into all the crevices of the texture medium. So for this part, I took the color Tuscan Sun and I watered it down because I really wanted a drippy effect for the yellow at the top of this piece. So I'm just going to water it down, apply it, spritz with water. I have water here in my misting bottle. And then I'll come back and dab at it with some paper towels to collect some of those drips. But I really wanted it runny up here. And same thing, I'm coming with that watered down Tuscan Sun and just highlighting some of these areas around the edges of the drawer. I don't want it quite as heavy on the second drawer, but I do want it there and drippy, just a little bit lighter. Now I'm paying some attention to this medallion. One of my favorite parts of this piece, I added Tuscan Sun, the watered down Tuscan Sun, and same thing, I'm going to spritz it with my misting bottle and dab with a paper towel to remove some of that paint. Down here at the bottom, I'm using Paint Couture's color Peacock. I'm adding Peacock to the center, and then I'm coming back at the edges with Moxie by the Sea and just brushing it in. And then I'm going to come back and blend those two colors together using my misting bottle and a third brush for just kind of that in-between, smoothing it out, just like that. Just smooth out that blending. And this kind of piece, it doesn't have to be a perfect blend. Here I'm using my scraper to scrape on some of that texture that I had applied, and what that's going to do, it's going to reveal underneath. It's going to take the paint off that top of that texture, so it's going to give it the look like this paint has been chipping and wearing away. And so for the rest of these drawers, we're following the same technique of adding our darker paint in the middle and some lighter paint on the edges and just very lightly blending them in together. The top drawers I want to look pretty distressed. So I'm very lightly just adding a little bit of the blue, barely touching on those spots, leaving a lot of the yellow and that tan color exposed. And I will blend them in, but just to give it more of a weathered appearance. I am patting with a paper towel to remove some of the paint and have some of our original colors showing through. Spray with the misting bottle and dab just to remove some of your paint. Oop, a hair. Now I'm not putting the darker tone right here. This is Moxie by the Sea, that lighter blue. Just working it really, really lightly into the yellow. Just ever so lightly. Around this medallion, I'm coming back in with the color Peacock. This medallion, I particularly want it to look layers and layers and layers. I'm not doing a full paint. I'm not worried about getting the peacock down into every single nook. We will be doing some aging technique on this, so I want to make sure to leave some of that exposed. I'm coming back with Moxie by the Sea around the side and blending that in. Don't forget, when you're blending, have a misting bottle on hand. It can make your paints a lot easier to move in together. Now I'm coming with a little bit of that watered down Tuscan Sun. As I work that Tuscan Sun into these blues, it does create this really beautiful yellowish green tone that I absolutely adored on this piece. So for this piece, we get yellows, we have a little bit of yellow, green, blue, then we have these teals and a darker teal. I loved how all these colors ended up playing together as I blended. I should have known, but it was a little unexpected. So you can see a little closer the green tint on this medallion. It almost looks like a patina. So I'm working on my blend around the outsides of it. And just doing in layers of Moxie by the Sea, Peacock, and Tuscan Sun to create all these different depths of colors that you see right here. I am coming in now on this medallion, and I am using Paint Couture's glaze. This is Van Dyke Brown. That's their glaze. It's very highly pigmented, but it's so easy to work with. You just apply it and then kind of dab and wipe it back. And that's going to reveal some of the colors. I am also making drip effects from anything that stands out on this piece. So whether it's hardware, keyholes, this medallion, everything's going to have these beautiful drips. I am going over top on this medallion using the Luxe Metallic from Paint Couture in Gold Mine. Not a full paint, just a really light brushing it on to still have some of those original colors peeking through. I still want this piece to look worn. I'm using that Luxe Metallic to help create some of our drips down at the bottom. Like this metal patina has been dripping and rusting through the ages. I'm using some of the Perfect Pigments. This color is Aged Cafe, so it is a powder, and I'm just applying a little bit of that and the bronze to just add a little bit more shimmer to it. Now I'm going to glaze this entire piece. This is the same glaze I used before. This is Paint Couture's Van Dyke glaze, and I brush it on, I spray it with my misting bottle full of water, and then I dab with paper towel. That paper towel is going to remove a lot of the glaze. And there, the first time I didn't have enough water, so if you find your glaze isn't removing, just spritz it again and you're going to be able to remove a little bit more of that, and it's really giving it this dirty, weathered look. These keyholes I also applied from iFlex. These drawers originally did not have any keyholes, so if you use these, make sure you paint black on the very middle inside. You can see on the bottom keyhole I had already painted the inside black. It gives it more of the look of being an actual hole, which doesn't exist when you glue on these keyholes. So I'm going to continue this glazing process, and I will be back to explain the rest as we move on. I did have more texture on these top drawers, so we're having the glaze stick to a lot more areas, which I think is very realistic if you consider water and where dirt and grime will form on a piece naturally as it sits in perhaps the weather. Since this paint technique was based off of a door that I saw, like a door in a Mediterranean city, an outer door, that's when I based this whole piece on, was that layered, drippy, weathered look. For the keyholes, I am using the Luxe Metallic and Gold Mine again, coming around the edge, creating the drips. I will be using my misting bottle to create some of that drippy effect, and then I'll be coming back in with those Perfect Pigments in Bronze and Aged Cafe just for some extra darkness and metallics. And you can mist those with the misting bottle and create a really beautiful drip. I do like to shape my drips out sometimes when I'm coming from hardware like this. I like to shape it out with my brush first and then mist it, because then I have a little bit more control over where the drips are going. I like to think of it as organized chaos. We'll just finish up the glazing on these top two drawers. I'll be going a little heavier, just like on the other side, making sure that this side is extra weathered. So other than top coat, this just about wraps up all the processes I did. I did put some hardware back on. I used some really beautiful drop pools from Undead hardware. Then there was some original ceramic knobs. This is how the piece ended up looking. It came out exactly like I wanted. Sometimes they don't, but I can tell you, I loved the texture. I loved the way the colors played in together. You can see all that lovely crustiness. And it's exactly what I was going for, and I'm a huge fan myself. So I hope you guys liked it, and check us out again next week.